The Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is finding our way. It's interesting because, well, we'll talk about it in a minute. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two and get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells and your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells and your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Rub them vigorously against each other, feeling that friction, the tension, the temperature, all those sensations, and allow the tickling, the tingling, and all those feelings to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So today we're talking about finding our way. And this came up because I was looking at I was talking to a friend over the weekend and looking at the next passage of my life, and the words "I'm lost" came out of my mouth, and it caused me to think. And to think about what was prompting that. What does it mean to be lost? And what I realized upon deeper reflection is that what is probably a more accurate statement would be that I'm finding my way. And with the word "my" probably being really critical in that, because for so much of my life, and I'm guessing that this may be the case for you as well, I have really felt like I'm living somebody else's life. Like I'm not living the life that feels like the expression of my inner heart, my deepest heart. And so in order to find our way, our unique way, it requires questioning questioning the status quo, questioning the way that we're living. You know, one of the things that we talk about a lot is how curiosity is an essential in formulating or clarifying our paths and our internal dynamics. And the thing about asking questions is that sometimes the answers aren't answers that you would have anticipated, and might not be answers that you wanted to hear even. And so this notion of wayfinding, for me anyway, means really having a willingness to step into the question about what would life look like if it were a pure expression of my being, if I were living in accordance with alignment with my being. What would life look like? And what are the things that I'm seeking? You know, so for me, one of the things that I've been very present to is the pretty consistent negative impact that I have on the environment. Just by virtue of my being, living the way that I live, that even as conscious as I might be, that there is a pretty dramatic negative impact that I consistently have on the environment, eating away minute by minute. And so what I'm looking at is, what would it mean? What would it look like to be able to have a beneficial impact on the environment? What kind of life might I be living? Where might I be living? What kind of lifestyle would I have? What kinds of different behaviors might I cultivate? And the thing, actually, this was a big thing. We were at the beach. Good morning. Good morning. Hello, Gia. Welcome, welcome. So good to have you here with us. And great to have everybody else who's joining us. We're talking about finding our way. And so we were at the beach, and I was looking around, and here I was at the ocean, and the sky was amazing, and the sand and the ocean, and there were a gazillion people. And what I became so present to is how we as human beings, for the most part, live our lives in a very human-centric way. That it's all about what we have to do, who we are connected to, what our daily routines are, what we're going to eat, where we're going to sleep. But it's very, very human-centric, not so much about being part of a greater world. It's very confined by the limits of the definition of humanity. So Gia says, I'm a little confused. Are you talking about finding your way, or you found your way? I'm talking about finding my way. And so, I think at different times in our lives, we have different way finding that occurs. And so at this point in my life, I am looking at finding my way. And what I mean by that is finding my particular path, finding what is going to be an even deeper expression of my being and my values, to be in communion with nature and the living world that is way more vast than the world that humanity has constructed, that is so self-referential in pretty much every way. So becoming more aware of the natural world, to become more aware of the fact that we're a speck in the cosmos, to become more aware of the natural cycle of the world, cycles, interactions, engagements, to become part of a bigger picture than a person living in a house, in a city, in a country, in a political system, in a social system, all of that, but to be starting to instead reach beyond the confines of those constructs. And in the face of that, my experience was, or my statement was, I feel lost. And to recognize where that feeling was coming from, to say I feel lost, was, as I looked at it further, I felt that it is more accurate to say I'm finding my way, and feeling lost at not knowing how to move forward, not knowing what the steps are, not knowing what it looks like. And it's not necessarily lost. It's being willing to put one step in front of another, one foot in front of another into the unknown. You know, it's wayfinding, it's pathfinding. And I think that it's an interesting juxtaposition for us to be looking at the distinction between being lost and finding one's way. Being lost feels very different to me. Subjectively, feeling lost feels kind of at a loss. You know, like, yeah, I agree. So Gia says, being lost looks scary, whereas finding my way feels like an adventure. And it can be exciting and scary all at once. And if we incorporate trust, if we incorporate the notion that life is happening for us and through us, we can be trusting in the unfolding, trusting that the resources are going to present themselves, that essentially we're putting ourselves in the path of magic and the possibility of that unfolding, you know, to say, well, what's next? What is this going to look like? I know, you know, I have a clearer and clearer intention. And when we recognize our intentions, and we align with our intentions and stay present to them, then the world conspires, the universe conspires to support that. At least that's been my experience. So Gia says, finding way looks exciting, adventures, and much more. I think understanding behind it makes the difference. Yes. So having the clarity of intention, having the faith that and the trust that things are unfolding as they're meant to unfold, that's a pretty awesome thing. So I'm planning to take a trip. I'm going to be gone from September 1st through the 14th, and there will be replays as far as I understand. So, you know, you can still get a morning hit if you want. I just won't be live. But I'm going to Mexico, and the adventure is to explore whether the opportunity that's arising there for a net positive village, where these negative impacts of our lifestyles are mitigated, and we ultimately, hopefully, the intention is that we give back more than we take. I'm going to explore that possibility for a year from now, or 2 years from now, or whenever that may manifest. And so there's been some soul searching for me around this next phase of my life that I'm inviting myself into, where I'll be moving, regardless of whether I go to Mexico or someplace else. I expect to be moving from where I currently reside and have for more than 20 years. So it's a big passage, and one that has been being seeded for a very long time, and one that I am feeling my way into, to sense and discover what's next, what's available, what's my heart calling for. And, you know, it's interesting how oftentimes life presents us with these opportunities to make new passages in our lives. Oftentimes we're presented with circumstance that requires those kinds of transformations from us. And we also have the ability to manufacture those opportunities as well. And so this is something of a manufactured opportunity. And there's tremendous possibility available in it. There's tremendous opening to a new way of being, a new patterns of being also on the planet. And it's really interesting to me to be actively engaged, more and more actively engaged in this notion of wayfinding. And we talk about it all the time, finding the song of your soul, singing the song of your soul. It takes some courage. It takes willingness to be lost on the way there, or to feel the discomfort of not knowing what's next, to feel unsettled, to feel the excitement of newness. Gia says, you're totally adventurous, Mira. Thank you for that. In certain respects, I think I am. And in other respects, it's really interesting to notice what arises for me, in the context of being present to, having the willingness to challenge what I know. I encourage you to that all the time, and I do the same. And I think that doing that from a place of rootedness is very different from doing it from a place of disorientation. And so what I'm recognizing in this conversation is that in order to be able to explore more deeply, we get to be anchoring ourselves more deeply within our sense of self. So going in more deeply to see, what is that song, that soul song singing? What does it have to say? What is it calling for? And what is it calling forth? And I think there are moments of disorientation, and in those moments, that's when to remember that life is happening for us and through us, and that we become, like, what I'm up to, what I'm interested in is, what does my life look like? Who do I become if I am a clearer and clearer channel for life flowing through me? And how do I get to that place and of being that clear channel? And so it means letting go of the things, letting go of assumptions, letting go of predeterminations about things, being willing to kind of cast oneself onto, to create a framework, but allow that framework to be loose enough that there's flow and flexibility, and the ability to make new limbs or new wings or new structures to be able to take down the parts that aren't working and construct new ones, or not, maybe just take down the ones that aren't working. I don't know. So it's to be in this place of not knowing can be a place of finding our way, or it can be the same circumstance can be feeling lost. And what's the distinction? The distinction is the perspective and the trust and the faith, I think, is to say, no, I'm finding my way. And sometimes in finding one's way, we go down passages that aren't going to take us where we want to go. So we get to retrace those steps or to find new directions from there. And I guess it's important to have a compass. And so what is that compass? That compass is our deeper connection to the communication from our essential being that lets us know that we're going in the right way, or going in a way that is life affirming. Gia says, I needed to hear this, Mira. Love your topics. Thank you, Gia. I hope so. I mean, I hope I'm not the only one that is finding my way. I hope that many of us are engaging in this kind of inquiry because the truth is, even more so than any time in history, we don't know how long we have on this planet. We don't know what's happening with our, with climate. We don't know what's happening with so many things. And we never have, but we have a bigger perspective. And Gia says, me too, I'm finding my way. That's awesome. And you know what? I don't know that we ever come to the conclusion of that. It's not like we arrive necessarily, but we keep, I think that wayfinding is, if we truly engage in it, it's an ongoing, lifelong process, to be keeping alive, to be keeping ourselves present to that ongoing discovery. It's not like there's a destination point, that is a final destination. Hopefully it's a constant and emergent evolution. And Gia says, and it's resonating what you're saying. I'm so glad to hear that, Gia, because I know I'm not the only one. And I think we get to give ourselves permission to not know, to at moments feel lost or feel like feel disoriented. And that's okay. I remember I did some intensives with Tony Robbins, and I remember one of his phrases was, if you're confused, it means you're about to learn something. And so when we have these experiences of disorientation, it means that something's changing or something's being challenged. And it means that something new is about to emerge, right? Because we're kind of reconfiguring things, we're realigning things, we're trying to reorient ourselves to something that's shifted. And I guess the caution is to allow ourselves to be in that transition state more and more, instead of trying to resolve it, instead of trying to get comfortable again, instead of patching the cracks in our matrix. Maybe we get to expand them a little bit and peek through them and recognize them as a gift. So as things are crumbling, we're gifted with the opportunity for new things to emerge that wouldn't be able to fit in the prior structure, that wouldn't be able to thrive, and therefore the cracks. And what's interesting is, when we think about cracks, it's like patch the cracks quickly, make sure you can patch it up so there's no seams, so that the cracks don't show. Whereas, there was a line from a Leonard Cohen song, "The cracks are where the light comes in." And that's where we first perceive new possibility. So finding our way, I encourage you to join me in this adventure, and to allow some of the old ideas. We need to be willing to question the validity of all the things that we have sort of taken for granted as the foundations of our being. Yes, Gia says, let the cracks be. I love it. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much for engaging and being willing to have these conversations. And I am so grateful to you for that and for this platform. Gia says, wow, learning to let it be. Yeah, that's a biggie, right? Like, not everything has to be fixed immediately. Good morning, Dido. So glad to have you here with us. Welcome. And I just want to say thank you to all of you. And I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming on Enlightened World Network, Enlightened World Living, and EWN, One with the Earth. So until next time, so